The mining station Kepler-7 buzzed with its usual chaos of interspecies commerce when the escape pod crashed into Docking Bay 12. Emergency alarms shrieked through the corridors as sparks flew from damaged systems. Captain Marcus Chen was enjoying his coffee in the cantina when the station shuddered from the impact. Within minutes, security teams surrounded the smoking pod. What they found inside changed everything. A young female from the Zephyrian royal family lay unconscious, her elegant blue-scaled skin marred by deep laser burns. Her breathing was shallow, and strange silver blood seeped from multiple wounds. The ornate crown floating above her head flickered weakly, its anti-gravity field failing. News spread through the station like wildfire. Princess Lyralee of Zephyros, third heir to the Crystal Throne, had somehow ended up on their doorstep. But the excitement quickly turned to fear when the station's communication arrays picked up massive energy signatures approaching from deep space. The Thrakari Dominion had found. Her station commander Walsh gathered his senior staff in the emergency meeting room. The holographic display showed a fleet of black warships moving toward them with deadly purpose. Each vessel bristled with weapons capable of turning the entire station to space dust. "They're demanding we hand over the princess," Walsh announced grimly. "Claims she's a war criminal who destroyed one of their battle cruisers. They want her alive for public execution." Marcus studied the tactical readouts. The Thrakari were known throughout the galaxy for their cruelty. Their empire had conquered dozens of worlds through fear and brutality. If they wanted the princess, it probably meant she had struck a real blow against their expansion. "What's our defensive capability?" asked Dr. Sarah Kim, the station's chief medical officer. "Against a Thrakari fleet?" Walsh laughed bitterly. "We've got mining lasers and some old patrol ships. We're a trading post, not a fortress." The other department heads exchanged worried glances. Everyone knew the Thrakari reputation. They didn't just kill enemies, they made examples of anyone who opposed them. Entire space stations had been destroyed for harboring fugitives. "We should hand her over," suggested Chief Engineer Rodriguez. "We can't risk 15,000 lives for one alien." Several others nodded in agreement. The mathematics were simple: one injured princess versus everyone on the station. It seemed like an obvious choice. But Marcus found himself thinking about humanity's own history. How many times had his people been written off as expendable? How often had the strong decided the weak weren't worth protecting? His grandfather had told him stories about Earth's World War II, when ordinary people chose to hide refugees despite terrible risks. "She's unconscious in our medical bay," Dr. Kim reported. "Severe plasma burns, internal bleeding, possible neural trauma. She needs immediate surgery or she won't survive the next few hours anyway." "Perfect," Walsh said. "We'll tell the Thrakari she died from her injuries. Problem solved." "Except they'll want to see the body," Marcus pointed out. "They'll want confirmation. And when they don't find one..." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Thrakari weren't stupid. They would scan the station thoroughly. Any deception would only make their eventual revenge worse. Marcus walked to the viewport and stared out at the approaching fleet. Each ship was 3 times larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their dark hulls seemed to absorb light itself. In a few hours they would arrive demanding their prize. "There's something else," Dr. Kim added quietly. "I ran some quick medical scans on the princess. Her injuries, they're not from ship weapons. These are torture marks. She was a prisoner who somehow escaped." The revelation hit the room like a physical blow. This wasn't a captured enemy. This was a victim who had fought her way to freedom. "The Zephyrian kingdom has been neutral in the Thrakari expansion," Marcus said slowly. "If they tortured a royal family member, it means the Thrakari are planning to invade Zephyros next," Walsh finished. "They wanted information about the kingdom's defenses." Suddenly the princess wasn't just another refugee. She was a witness to Thrakari war crimes and possibly the key to preventing another planetary conquest. But she was also unconscious and dying while a fleet of warships approached with genocide in mind. Marcus made his decision. "I'm going to the medical bay," he announced. "Someone needs to hear her side of the story before we make any choices." "Chen, that's not your call to make," Walsh warned. "No, but defending innocent people is exactly what I signed up for when I became a starship captain. Even if my ship is currently in pieces in Cargo Bay 6. The human captain left the meeting room with determined strides, ignoring the worried calls from behind him. In the medical bay, he found Princess Lyralee connected to life support systems. her breathing assisted by machines. Even unconscious and wounded, she maintained an otherworldly beauty that spoke of advanced genetic engineering. Marcus pulled up a chair beside her bed. Whatever happened next, he wanted to be there when she woke up. Someone needed to tell her that at least one person in this vast galaxy was willing to listen to her story. The Thrakari fleet continued its approach, their weapons charging for what they assumed would be a simple retrieval mission. They had no idea that their demand had awakened something dangerous in the human psyche, the stubborn refusal to abandon those who needed protection, even when the odds were impossible. The mining station Kepler-7 buzzed with its usual chaos of interspecies commerce when the escape pod crashed into docking bay 12. Emergency alarms shrieked through the corridors as sparks flew from damaged systems. Captain Marcus Chen was enjoying his coffee in the cantina when the station shuddered from the impact. Within minutes, security teams surrounded the smoking pod. What they found inside changed everything. A young female from the Zephyrian royal family lay unconscious, her elegant blue-scaled skin marred by deep laser burns. Her breathing was shallow and strange silver blood seeped from multiple wounds. The ornate crown floating above her head flickered weakly, its anti-gravity field failing. News spread through the station like wildfire. Princess Lyralai of Zephyros, third heir to the Crystal Throne, had somehow ended up on their doorstep. But the excitement quickly turned to fear when the station's communication arrays picked up massive energy signatures. Approaching from deep space, the Thrakari Dominion had found her station commander Walsh gathered his senior staff in the emergency meeting room. The holographic display showed a fleet of black warships moving toward them with deadly purpose. Each vessel bristled with weapons capable of turning the entire station to space dust. "They're demanding we hand over the princess," Walsh announced grimly. "Claims she's a war criminal who destroyed one of their battle cruisers. They want her alive for public execution." Marcus studied the tactical readouts. The Thrakari were known throughout the galaxy for their cruelty. Their empire had conquered dozens of worlds through fear and brutality. If they wanted the princess, it probably meant she had struck a real blow against their expansion. "What's our defensive capability?" asked Dr. Sarah Kim, the station's chief medical officer. "Against a Thrakari fleet?" Walsh laughed bitterly. "We've got mining lasers and some old patrol ships. We're a trading post, not a fortress." The other department heads exchanged worried glances. Everyone knew the Thrakari reputation. They didn't just kill enemies. They made examples of anyone who opposed them. Entire space stations had been destroyed for harboring fugitives. "We should hand her over," suggested Chief Engineer Rodriguez. "We can't risk 15,000 lives for one alien." Several others nodded in agreement. The mathematics were simple. One injured princess versus everyone on the station. It seemed like an obvious choice. But Marcus found himself thinking about humanity's own history. How many times had his people been written off as expendable? How often had the strong decided the weak weren't worth protecting? His grandfather had told him stories about Earth's World War II, when ordinary people chose to hide refugees despite terrible risks. "She's unconscious in our medical bay," Dr. Kim reported. "Severe plasma burns, internal bleeding, possible neural trauma. She needs immediate surgery or she won't survive the next few hours anyway." "Perfect," Walsh said. "We'll tell the Thrakari she died from her injuries." Problem solved. "Except they'll want to see the body," Marcus pointed out. "They'll want confirmation. And when they don't find one?" The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Thrakari weren't stupid. They would scan the station thoroughly. Any deception would only make their eventual revenge worse. Marcus walked to the viewport and stared out at the approaching fleet. Each ship was 3 times larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their dark hulls seemed to absorb light itself. In a few hours they would arrive demanding their prize. "There's something else," Dr. Kim added quietly. "I ran some quick medical scans on the princess. Her injuries, they're not from ship weapons. These are torture marks. She was a prisoner who somehow escaped." The revelation hit the room like a physical blow. This wasn't a captured enemy. This was a victim who had fought her way to freedom. "The Zephyrian kingdom has been neutral in the Thrakari expansion," Marcus said slowly. "If they tortured a royal family member, it means the Thrakari are planning to invade Zephyros next," Walsh finished. "They wanted information about the kingdom's defenses. Suddenly the princess wasn't just another refugee. She was a witness to Thrakari war crimes, and possibly the key to preventing another planetary conquest. But she was also unconscious and dying while a fleet of warships approached with genocide in mind. Marcus made his decision. "I'm going to the medical bay," he announced. "Someone needs to hear her side of the story before we make any choices." "Chen, that's not your call to make," Walsh warned. "No, but defending innocent people is exactly what I signed up for when I became a starship captain. Even if my ship is currently in pieces in Cargo Bay 6. The human captain left the meeting room with determined strides, ignoring the worried calls from behind him. In the medical bay, he found Princess Lirelei connected to life support systems, her breathing assisted by machines. Even unconscious and wounded, she maintained an otherworldly beauty that spoke of advanced genetic engineering. Marcus pulled up a chair beside her bed. Whatever happened next, he wanted to be there when she woke up. Someone needed to tell her that at least one person in this vast galaxy was willing to listen to her story. The Thrakari fleet continued its approach, their weapons charging for what they assumed would be a simple retrieval mission. They had no idea that their demand had awakened something dangerous in the human psyche. The stubborn refusal to abandon those who needed protection, even when the odds were impossible. The next hour transformed Kepler-7 from a peaceful trading post into a fortress preparing for war. Marcus moved through the station like a man possessed, turning every system into a potential weapon. The mining lasers were repositioned to cover approach vectors. Cargo containers filled with explosive materials became improvised mines. Even the station's industrial fabricators were reprogrammed to produce makeshift armor plating. Princess Lirelei insisted on helping despite her injuries. Her knowledge of Thrakari ship designs proved invaluable as they planned their defense. She moved through the corridors with Marcus, her royal bearing intact even in borrowed maintenance coveralls. "Their lead ship is a destroyer-class dreadnought," she explained, pointing at the tactical display, triple-layered energy shields and quantum torpedo tubes. "But there's a weakness in their design philosophy." "Which is?" Marcus asked, welding an additional support beam into place. "Thrakari technology focuses on overwhelming firepower rather than defensive innovation. Their ships are powerful but rigid in their tactical approaches. They expect enemies to either surrender immediately or die quickly." Dr. Kim approached them with a medical scanner in hand. "Princess, I need to check your neural interface healing. And Marcus, you've been awake for 36 hours straight." "No time for rest," Marcus replied, but allowed her to run the scanner over his head. "How's the evacuation going?" 12,000 civilians have been transferred to cargo ships and sent to the outer system, Dr. Kim reported. 3,000 volunteers have chosen to stay and help with the defense. Marcus felt a surge of pride. These weren't soldiers or warriors. They were miners, traders, engineers, and shopkeepers. But when faced with tyranny, they had chosen to stand and fight rather than run. "The Thrakari are hailing us again," announced Chief Rodriguez over the communication system. "They're demanding immediate surrender of the princess." "Put them through to the command center," Marcus replied. Minutes later, the main display showed the bridge of the Thrakari flagship. The alien commander was a massive creature with black scales and glowing red eyes. When it spoke, its voice sounded like grinding metal. "I am War Master Vorthak of the Thrakari Dominion. You have 10 minutes to surrender the escaped prisoner, or this station will be reduced to atoms." Marcus stepped into view of the camera, his expression calm and determined. Behind him, Princess Lirelei moved into the frame, standing tall despite her injuries. "I am Captain Marcus Chen of the Human Defense Fleet. The person you call a prisoner is under our protection as a legitimate refugee. We refuse your demand." War Master Vorthak's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Humans, I should have known. Your species has always been troublesome. Very well. When I am finished with this station, I will personally hunt down every human colony in this sector." "You're welcome to try," Marcus replied evenly. "But you might want to ask your intelligence division what happened the last time someone threatened human civilians. The files on Earth's history are quite educational." The Thrakari commander's snarl revealed rows of razor-sharp teeth. "Your primitives' weapons cannot penetrate our shields. This will be over quickly." "Maybe. But here's something you should understand about humans, War Master. We don't fight because we think we can win. We fight because it's the right thing to do. And when we fight, we don't stop until we're dead or you are." The transmission ended abruptly. On the tactical display, the Thrakari ships began moving into attack formation. Energy signatures spiked as their weapons powered up. "All stations, this is Captain Chen," Marcus announced over the station's communication system. "Hostile contact in approximately 8 minutes. Remember, we're not just defending this station. We're buying time for Princess Lyrelei to warn her people and for human reinforcements to arrive. Every minute we hold out might save millions of lives across the galaxy." Princess Lyrelei touched his arm gently. "Captain Chen, Marcus, I want you to know that whatever happens here today, the Zephyrian Kingdom will remember your courage. My people have legends about warriors who stand against impossible odds to protect others. Today you write yourself into those legends. Let's hope we live to read them," Marcus replied with a grim smile. The station's defensive systems came online with a series of deep thrums. Modified mining lasers swiveled toward the approaching fleet. Emergency force fields activated around critical systems. In the cargo bays, the remaining civilians who had chosen to stay worked frantically to assemble Marcus's ship from its component parts. "First contact in 60 seconds, Rodriguez announced. "Enemy shields are fully charged, weapons locked onto our position." Marcus took one last look around the command center. These people, humans, Centauri refugees, a few Rigelian traders who had chosen to stay, none of them were soldiers. But they stood ready to face one of the galaxy's most feared military forces. "All stations, weapons free," Marcus ordered. "Show them what happens when you threaten innocent people in front of humans." The Thrakari flagship opened fire first, sending streams of plasma toward the station. But the beams struck empty space where Marcus had predicted they would aim. The human captain had spent years studying alien tactical doctrines, and Thrakari commanders were nothing if not predictable. "Return fire," Marcus shouted. The modified mining lasers erupted with brilliant light, their focused beams striking the lead ship's shields. The energy barriers flared but held, just as Princess Lyrelei had warned they would. But the human response had achieved something more important than damage. It had surprised them. "Sir," Rodriguez called out, excitement in his voice. "Their formation is adjusting. They're responding to us like we're an actual threat." Marcus smiled fiercely. The Thrakari expected victims, not enemies. They were used to overwhelming firepower-ending battles before they began. A prolonged fight would force them to adapt to human unpredictability. And unpredictability, Marcus knew, was humanity's greatest weapon. The real battle was just beginning. The battle for Kepler 7 became a deadly dance of fire and steel in the vacuum of space. Marcus had turned the station into something no Thrakari commander had ever faced. A fortress that fought back with cunning rather than pure firepower. Every few minutes he changed tactics completely. Keeping the alien fleet off balance, "Rodriguez, release mining charges from Docking Bay 7, Marcus ordered as enemy ships moved into what they thought was a safe firing position. The explosions caught 2 Thrakari cruisers by surprise, their shields flickering under the unexpected assault from what appeared to be empty space. The human strategy was working, using the enemy's assumptions against them. Princess Lyrelei worked alongside Dr. Kim at the tactical station, her royal training in military strategy proving invaluable. "Captain, their flagship is moving to flank us. War Master Vorthak is trying to get a clear shot at our power core." "Let him think he's succeeding," Marcus replied, then switched to the engineering channel. "Chief, I need you to vent plasma from the port fusion reactors. Make it look like we're losing containment, sir." "That's going to reduce our power by 30%, Rodriguez warned. "Trust me." The false plasma leak made it appear that Kepler 7 was suffering critical damage. War Master Vorthak took the bait, moving his massive dreadnought into position for what he believed would be a killing blow. The ship's main weapons began charging for maximum power. "Now!" Marcus shouted. Hidden weapon emplacements that had been disguised as damaged hull sections suddenly revealed themselves. These weren't mining lasers. They were military-grade particle cannons that Marcus had somehow acquired during his years as an independent captain. The concentrated fire struck the Thrakari flagship's shield generators directly. For the first time in the battle, alien shields failed completely. The dreadnought's hull cracked under the assault, venting atmosphere and debris into space. Emergency klaxons wailed across the Thrakari communication frequencies as damage control teams scrambled to save their flagship. "Impossible," came War Master Vorthak's voice over the open channel. "Your weapons should not be capable of such power." "You made the mistake of thinking in categories," Marcus replied calmly. Military, civilian, mining equipment, weapons. Humans don't think that way. To us, everything is a potential tool. But the victory was temporary. The other Thrakari ships had learned from their flagship's mistake and were now approaching with extreme caution. Worse, long-range sensors showed additional enemy vessels jumping into the system. "Captain?" Dr. Kim called out, her voice tight with concern. "I'm reading massive energy spikes from the new arrivals. Those aren't standard warships." Princess Lyreley studied the sensor data, her expression growing grave. "Planet killers. They're bringing world-cracker ships designed to destroy entire civilizations." Marcus felt his blood run cold. Planet killers were weapons of absolute destruction, used only when the Thrakari wanted to send a message of terror across the galaxy. The fact that they had brought such weapons to a simple mining station meant they viewed this as more than just a refugee retrieval. "They're planning to use this battle as a demonstration," Lyreley continued. "Destroy the station and everyone on it, then broadcast the footage across known space. Show what happens to anyone who defies the Dominion." "Sir," Rodriguez interrupted, "I've got good news and bad news. The good news is we've got your ship reassembled and ready to fly. The bad news is we've lost 40% of our defensive systems." Marcus looked at the tactical display. They had held out longer than anyone thought possible. But the mathematics were catching up to them. More Thrakari ships arrived every few minutes while his defenses slowly crumbled. "Princess, how long would it take you to reach a secure communication array if you had fast transport?" 30 minutes to the Rigelian listening post in the Tau Ceti system," she replied. "But Captain, I cannot leave while you and your people are in danger." "You have to. The information you carry is worth more than all our lives combined. If the galaxy doesn't get advance warning about the Thrakari invasion plans, billions of people will die without ever knowing what hit them." Princess Lyreley stood silently for a moment, her royal training warring with her personal feelings. Marcus could see the struggle in her eyes. Duty versus honor, logic versus emotion. "There has to be another way," she said finally. "Your people chose to defend me when they could have saved themselves. I will not abandon them now." "You're not abandoning us," Marcus assured her. "You're completing the mission. That's what we've been fighting for, the chance to get you safely away." Before she could respond, the station shuddered under a massive impact. On the main screen, they could see one of the planet killers moving into firing position. Its main weapon was a kilometer-long barrel that glowed with barely contained destructive energy. "All stations, this is the end of the line," Marcus announced over the communication system. "Anyone who wants to evacuate with Princess Lyreley, now is the time. No shame in choosing to live and fight another day." To his amazement, not a single person moved to leave their posts. Engineers stayed at their stations. Doctors continued treating the wounded. Even the civilian volunteers remained at their defensive positions. "Looks like you're stuck with us, Princess," Dr. Kim said with a tired smile. "These stubborn humans don't know when to quit." Princess Lyreley looked around the command center, seeing the determination on every face. These people were willing to die for someone they had met only hours ago, simply because it was the right thing to do. "Very well," she said formally, "but if we are to make our final stand together, then we do it as equals. I am not just a princess seeking protection, I am a warrior standing with other warriors." She moved to the weapons console and began working with practiced efficiency. "Captain Chen, I have an idea. It's dangerous and probably insane, but it might give us a chance to hurt them badly before the end." "I'm listening." "The planet killer ships have incredibly powerful weapons, but their energy systems are also incredibly unstable. If we could somehow cause a feedback loop in their main cannon," Marcus understood immediately, "the explosion would take out half their fleet." "And definitely kill everyone on this station," Princess Lyreley added honestly. "But it would also send a message across the galaxy that the Thrakari are not invincible." Marcus looked around the command center one more time. These people had already chosen their fate when they decided to stay. The only question now was whether their sacrifice would mean something. "Rodriguez, how quickly can you overload our fusion reactors?" The chief engineer grinned fiercely. "Give me 5 minutes, Captain. We're going to light up this corner of space like a new star." The plan was madness born of desperation, but it was the kind of madness that humans specialized in. Marcus coordinated the final preparations while Princess Lyreley worked to calculate the exact timing needed to trigger a cascade failure in the planet killer's weapon systems. "The feedback pulse needs to hit their charging sequence at precisely the right moment," she explained. her fingers flying over the tactical computer. Too early and their safety systems will compensate. Too late and we'll just give them a light show before they vaporize us. Rodriguez rushed between workstations, preparing the fusion reactors for catastrophic overload. The process was incredibly dangerous. One miscalculation would destroy the station prematurely. But the chief engineer had spent 30 years maintaining these systems. If anyone could make them explode on command, it was him. "Captain," Dr. Kim interrupted, "I'm picking up a new signal on long-range sensors. Something big is jumping into the system." Marcus felt his heart sink. More Thrakari reinforcements would make their sacrifice meaningless. But as the sensor data resolved, he realized the massive signature wasn't from an enemy ship. "Holy Mother of..." Rodriguez breathed, staring at his displays. The newcomer was a Zephyrian Royal Dreadnought. 3 kilometers of crystalline hull and exotic weapons that gleamed like captured starlight. The ship was a masterwork of alien engineering, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. "The Crown's Vengeance," Princess Lyrelai whispered, recognizing the vessel. "My sister's flagship." A new voice cut through the communication channels, speaking in the musical tones of the Zephyrian language before switching to Galactic Common. "This is Crown Princess Saralai of Zephyros commanding the Royal Fleet. Kepler 7 station, please respond." Princess Lyrelai rushed to the communication console. "Sarah, I'm here, I'm alive." "Lyra, thank the crystals. We received your emergency beacon and came as quickly as possible." The relief in the Crown Princess's voice was evident even across species. "Stand by for immediate extraction." "Negative, sister. There are thousands of innocent people on this station. We don't abandon those who chose to protect us. The Royal Fleet numbers 60 ships, little sister. The humans will be quite safe." Marcus looked at the tactical display with amazement. 60 Zephyrian warships had just jumped into the system, their crystalline hulls sparkling with energy weapons that made Thrakari technology look primitive by comparison. The aliens had brought enough firepower to level a small moon. War Master Vorthak's voice crackled over the communication channels, his previous confidence replaced by barely controlled rage. "Zephyrian dogs! You dare interfere with Dominion operations?" "We dare to defend our family and our friends," Crown Princess Saralai replied coolly. "Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. You think your crystal toys can stand against the might of the Dominion? We will crush your pretty ships and enslave your entire kingdom." "Marcus," Princess Lyrelai said quietly, turning to the human captain, "now you'll see why the Thrakari were so desperate to capture me alive. They need our defensive codes because they know they cannot defeat us in open battle." The space around Kepler 7 suddenly erupted into the largest fleet engagement Marcus had ever witnessed. 60 Zephyrian ships moved like a school of luminous fish, their formation perfect despite the complex 3-dimensional battlefield. Their weapons fired in coordinated salvos that overwhelmed Thrakari shields through pure precision rather than brute force. But the Thrakari had numbers on their side. Nearly 200 ships responded to the Zephyrian challenge, including 3 planet killers whose massive bulk dominated the battlefield. The aliens fought with desperate fury, knowing that defeat here would expose the weakness of their expansion strategy. "Station Commander Walsh to all hands," came the announcement over the internal communication system. "Evacuation ships are standing by in all docking bays. All non-essential personnel report for immediate transport." "Captain Chen," Princess Lyrelai said urgently, "you need to evacuate your people now. This battle is going to get much worse before it's over." Marcus shook his head. "My place is here, but everyone else should go." He opened the general communication channel. "All stations, this is Captain Chen. Anyone who wants to evacuate has my blessing and my gratitude. You've already done more than anyone could ask." To his surprise, most of the station's defenders chose to stay. They had started this fight together and they intended to finish it the same way. The battle raged for nearly an hour. Zephyrian ships danced through space with impossible grace, while Thrakari vessels hammered away with brutal efficiency. Both sides took heavy losses, but the tactical advantage slowly shifted toward the crystal ships. Then War Master Vorthak made his final, desperate gambit. "All ships target the mining station," he commanded. "If we cannot have the princess alive, then we will ensure she dies with the humans who dared to protect her." The remaining Thrakari fleet turned, their weapons toward Kepler 7, hundreds of plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes, prepared to reduce the station to component atoms. Even with Zephyrian protection, the concentrated firepower would be devastating. "Sarah, You have to break off and protect the station, Princess Lyrelei urged her sister. If we do that, the planet killers will escape to threaten other worlds. Crown Princess Saralai replied grimly. The tactical situation is impossible. Marcus studied the battlefield display, his mind racing through possibilities. The Thrakari were counting on Zephyrian honor to force them into an impossible choice. Save the station or stop the planet killers. They couldn't do both, unless someone was willing to do something completely insane. Rodriguez, Marcus called out. How long until you can overload those fusion reactors? 2 minutes, Captain. But sir, with the Zephyrian fleet here, we don't need to. Yes, we do. Marcus turned to Princess Lyrelei with a determined expression. Your people need to focus on stopping those planet killers. That's their priority. But someone still needs to deal with the fleet targeting this station. Marcus, no. There has to be another way. There is another way, Marcus replied with a fierce grin. But it involves something no military academy in the galaxy teaches. The human capacity for beautiful, glorious, absolutely insane heroism. He opened a communication channel to every ship in the system, Zephyrian and Thrakari alike. This is Captain Marcus Chen of the Human Defense Fleet. War Master Vorthak, you want to know what makes humans dangerous? It's not our weapons or our technology. It's our absolute refusal to let evil win, even when victory costs us everything. The fusion reactors began their final overload sequence as Marcus prepared to write humanity's name across the stars in letters of fire. The final moments before the explosion stretched like hours in Marcus's mind. Princess Lyrelei stood beside him in the command center, refusing to evacuate despite the imminent destruction. Her sister's frantic voice echoed through the communication system, pleading with them to transport to safety. Lyra, please. The extraction beam is ready. No, Sarah. These humans chose to stand with me when they had every reason to abandon me. I will not abandon them now. Marcus felt a profound sense of peace settle over him. This was how it should be. Protecting someone who needed protection, standing against tyranny even when the cost was everything. He thought about his grandfather's stories, about ordinary people who had made extraordinary choices when history demanded it. Rodriguez, status on reactor overload? Marcus asked calmly. 30 seconds to cascade failure, Captain. The explosion will take out everything within 50 kilometers. On the tactical display, the Thrakari fleet moved into final attack position. War Master Vorthak had committed every remaining ship to destroying the station. He seemed to understand that this battle represented something larger than military strategy. It was about whether evil could triumph through pure intimidation. All Zephyrian ships. Break off from station defense, Crown Princess Saralai commanded reluctantly. Focus fire on the planet killers. We cannot allow those weapons to escape. Marcus watched the crystal ships turn away, engaging the massive world crackers in a desperate running battle. It was the tactically correct decision, but it left Kepler-7 defenseless against the approaching Thrakari fleet. 20 seconds. Captain, Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the circumstances. Sir, Dr. Kim interrupted. I'm reading massive energy signatures approaching from the outer system. Multiple jump points opening simultaneously. Marcus looked at the sensor data with amazement. Dozens of ships were emerging from hyperspace, but these weren't reinforcements for either side. They were vessels from across the galaxy. Centauri Alliance cruisers, Rigelian science ships, even a few independent traders like himself. This is Admiral Sarah Torres of the Human Defense Fleet, came a familiar voice over the communication channels. All Thrakari vessels, you are ordered to cease hostilities immediately and withdraw from this system. The human fleet that emerged from hyperspace was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Torres had somehow assembled ships from a dozen different species, all flying under the banner of humanity's defense fleet. The message was clear. Earth's children had friends across the stars. Impossible, War Master Vorthak snarled. Humans cannot have allies. You are a young species with no influence. Influence isn't about age or power, Admiral Torres replied. It's about being the kind of people others want to stand with. Captain Chen demonstrated that today when he chose to protect Princess Lyrelei. Every species in this fleet has their own reasons for being here. A Centauri captain added his voice to the communication. The Dominion destroyed my homeworld last year. Today we return the favor. They enslaved my people, came from a Rigelian commander. We fight for liberation. One by one, voices from across the galaxy added their testimony. The Thrakari had made enemies everywhere they went, but it had taken humanity's example of selfless protection to unite those enemies into a single force. 10 seconds to reactor overload, Rodriguez announced. Marcus made a split-second decision. Rodriguez, abort the sequence. Cancel the overload, sir. We don't need to die today. We've already accomplished our mission. The tactical situation had completely reversed. The combined fleet outnumbered the remaining Thrakari ships 3-1, and morale among the Dominion forces was cracking. War Master Vorthak's voice was no longer confident. It was desperate. All ships full retreat. We cannot engage this many enemies. But Princess Lyreley stepped forward, her voice carrying the authority of ancient royalty. War Master Vorthak, you are guilty of war crimes against the Zephyrian kingdom and conspiracy to commit genocide against multiple species. Surrender now and face trial, or be destroyed where you stand. I will never surrender to inferior species. Then you have chosen your fate, Crown Princess Saralai said coldly. All ships open fire. The battle that followed was mercifully brief. The Thrakari ships, already damaged from hours of fighting, could not withstand the combined firepower of the Allied fleet. One by one, they were destroyed or disabled. Even the massive planet killers fell under the coordinated assault. War Master Vorthak's flagship was the last to fall. As explosions tore through its hull, the alien commander's final transmission was filled with rage and disbelief. This is impossible. Humans are nothing. Primitives. The communication cut off as the ship's reactor went critical. In the silence that followed, Marcus found himself standing in a command center that was somehow still intact, surrounded by people who were somehow still alive. Princess Lyreley moved to the viewport, staring out at the debris field that had once been one of the galaxy's most feared fleets. Captain Chen, Admiral Torres's voice came through the communication system. I believe you have someone who needs to make an urgent communication to her government. Already taken care of, Admiral, Princess Lyreley replied. I transmitted the complete Thrakari invasion plans to the Zephyrian Royal Council during the battle. Every targeted system will receive advance warning within the hour. And the other Dominion fleets? They will find prepared defenses waiting for them instead of helpless victims. The age of Thrakari expansion ends today. Marcus slumped into a chair, exhaustion finally catching up with him. It seemed impossible that they had won, that everyone was still alive, that a mining station in the middle of nowhere had become the turning point in a galactic war. Captain, Princess Lyreley said softly, sitting beside him, what you did today, what your entire species did today, it will be remembered forever. When the history of this war is written, they will speak of the humans who chose to stand with strangers against impossible odds. We just did what was right, Marcus replied simply. Yes, she agreed, and that is exactly why the galaxy will follow your example. Today, humanity showed what true strength looks like, not the power to destroy but the courage to protect. Outside the viewport, the Allied fleet began forming up for the long journey home. Ships from dozens of species flew in formation, their running lights creating a constellation of hope against the darkness of space. The wounded alien princess had found more than just protection among the humans. She had found the spark that would unite the galaxy against tyranny. And in defending her, humanity had proven that they belonged among the stars not as conquerors, but as guardians of all who needed protecting. The real battle for the galaxy's freedom was just beginning, but it would be fought by united species standing together. The age of isolation was over and the age of alliance had begun. War Master Vorthak had been wrong about one thing. Humans were not nothing. They were the something that evil had forgotten to account for. The stubborn refusal to let injustice win, no matter the cost. And that, more than any weapon or technology, was what would change everything.